What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of the Dragoncast. My name is Brian Daniels, and I am back once again with my podcasting partner in crime, Mr. Victor Salazar. Victor, what is going on, man? How are you doing today, brother?
Hey, what's going on, guys? You know, it's good to be back. Good to be back on the podcast and getting back into the groove of things. I know it's been a couple of weeks now since we revamped and restarted the Dragoncast, and feeling pretty good, man. I'm happy we're back on the air.
Dude, I am too, man. It's been a great feeling to get behind the microphone again. It's something I've missed for quite a while now. I know you and I haven't really been able to dedicate our time to doing a show like this, and especially one where we're able to have so many guests on it and things like that. And that's something that's kind of going to be the basis, if you will, for those listening at home of this show today. Is like I said on the first episode, the return episode with Paul. I know, Victor, you had a little hard time wrapping your brain around this, but I
still have a hard time, man.
Yeah,
having a hard time.
I had said it had been 5 years since the last time we did an episode of this show. And, it has been 5 years. It has been since 2015 since we have done an episode of this show. And times have changed, man, haven't they?
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, Brian and I, we like to have, little mini chat before the show just to, see how we're doing, what's going on. And just, speaking of podcasting and recording, man, we were just talking about how several years ago, recording a podcast used to be such a hassle. And now it's, touch of a button, record, good to go. But technology has definitely changed. The easiness of getting things done is just way better than it was before. That struggle to get things up on a Dropbox and checking it out and making sure it's all good, and then putting it up on some other third-party platform. It was just crazy. But how is it doing it now with Zoom? Because that's the platform we're using now, and I know, Brian, you're taking charge of it.
Yeah, man.
And using Zoom, it's touch of a button, right?
It's been incredible that like Victor says, him and I always do this little thing before we actually start recording, where we have a little pre-production chat.
I wouldn't even call it that, man.
Will.
This is just hanging out.
We're just hanging out. We're just bullshitting. You know what I mean? That's all we're doing. Is just that. It isn't like we do this thing. Okay, now Victor, on this segment, you're going to talk about that.
That's right.
We don't do that. To hell with that.
Make sure you laugh.
Dude, to hell with that. Because I will tell you guys this, man. When I first started doing podcasting, it was about 8 years ago. God, it's been that long ago. Jesus.
See, I'm telling you, man. Time's been flying.
And 8 years ago was even more of a whole other ball game, because that was, towards the beginning of the last decade.
Yeah, that's right.
And we didn't have all this technology, instant recording, or there wasn't really this thing called the cloud.
That's right.
That was, a thing back then. You had to basically store everything physically on your hard drives, and now it's just so stupid easy how it, to do a show and to use this technology. Victor and I, we always use this program called Pamela. We were talking about this earlier, and we. He had to record it, and I had to record it, and and then we had to use Dropbox. I mean, we still use Dropbox, but
definitely not as.
It's not like it was
before,
then.
Yeah.
And Pamela is strictly audio. You can't do video. So now, I hate, as much as I'm not trying to put any light on the subject, but I think the virus, the current situation, if you will, has shed some light on the way we use technology. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's kind of forced us, in a sense, on how to communicate well with other people and the technology that we have to now use to incorporate, because you have to understand, like, schools have to have virtual classes. They had to have virtual commencements recently, and for the most part, it's Zoom. But now we're seeing other companies, like Microsoft has, I think it's Meetings or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Teams, I believe
Teams.
is what
it's
it
called
is.
Teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
They use Teams, and even like Facebook now has rooms. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I haven't really checked that out. But I did see that that's now a thing on Facebook.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's you go into your Messenger, and you go to where you see the list of all of your friends, and it says create a room, so you can do virtually the same thing that you and I are doing right now on instant on Facebook Messenger. It's so weird. And so over the last 5 years since we've not done a podcast, technology has been pretty much brought up to speed. So now there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do a good podcast. And that is going to be the subject of our show next week, which we'll talk about towards the end, is how you can get into podcasting, the ease of getting into podcasting versus how it was back then, and things like that. But as far as like what we have been up to in our own personal lives, the last 5 years, it's been a ride.
Whirlwind. I think it's been a whirlwind for both of us, man.
Yeah. Like what have you been up to, man? I just
I'm thinking back last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I think last 5 years, man, I've moved over away from the LA area. That hustle and bustle of the town was just too much, so I moved out a little bit further north, about an hour away, to city of Lancaster. Yeah. Which felt nice, being able to walk in and out of a Walmart or any store without having to wait in line and have a crowd of people in there. But again, that was pre-virus. So, post-virus is a different story.
Yeah.
Also recently, I've had some health issues, man. I've been dealing with some stuff. Yeah. Mainly, I had some hernia issues that I've been pushing away forever, dude. Like I've had it before 5 years ago, but just pushed through it, and past year or so, I finally said, you know what, I can't. I gotta get it squared away. So I've been out, recovering. But then that turned into an infection, so that turned into another thing. So I've been like in and out of hospitals for the past month and a half. Actually, more since early March. I think.
Jeez.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was crazy because I asked because Justin, who is the owner of Dragon Blogger.
That's right.
I've been wanting to do a podcast again for a long time. I've had that itch. I love writing, and I'm not able to do any convention reviews right now. So I'm like, damn, what
are we going to do?
What can I do right now? Because, there really isn't a lot of games that have been coming out recently that I've wanted to review or really talk about. And I have a couple of YouTube channels that I do. I have a Daniel's Domain one, which is basically my video game and industry news YouTube channel, which I'm going to start doing weekly news updates on here soon. And then I've got this really cool YouTube channel called Tales from the Block, where it talks about my life, my time as a Blockbuster employee. That I've been trying to work on, but which is crazy because this global situation, this virus, if you will, has really started to make the creative juices flowing. Because when you can't go to a movie, or you can't go to the bookstore, you can't go out and really do anything fun, then that's when your brain just like, okay, what else can we do?
What can we do? Yeah.
So I was like, man, I want to do a podcast. I mean, it's what kind of podcasting is kind of what launched me into the career that I love doing now. And it's kind of like that first love, if you will. And, so I was like, man, I want to bring the Dragoncast back. I want to bring the show back. And originally, I was like, man, I love a co-host. And, but I don't know why I never really pursued it then. And so when I got Paul on, I was like, man, you know what? I don't want to just talk to Paul by myself. I got to have somebody to banter with me and because it's not the same. And then I'm thinking, okay, what about the weeks when I'm doing the show by myself? I'm just going to be talking to myself. And that's already depressing as it is, because I'm in my house, and so.
In a room by yourself. Let me just have a conversation with myself.
Let me just sit here and talk to myself all day because that's fun. I guess I could have done a really weird show where I answered myself too. I've been kind of interesting, I guess. Too.
Creative juices flowing.
Right.
One man show right there.
Right. But so I hit up Victor because obviously, there was no other question about it, man. Like you and I have done so many podcasts together and different podcasts together. I was like, Victor and I flow pretty well. He's just as nerdy and into all kinds of shit like I am. So so I hit him. So I hit you up. I hit Victor up, and he's all like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm like in the hospital. I just got out of the hospital." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Right. So I just got out of the hospital, but yeah, man, I'm in. Count me in.
I was like, so is this a good time? Like, is this a sign that like I shouldn't be doing this thing?
Right. The heavens raining down and you're saying, yeah, dude's in the hospital, man. You shouldn't be doing podcasting right now.
Because I was talking to my wife about it. Because when I messaged you, I was telling my wife, I was like, man, he's like in the hospital and shit. Like, he's like, I don't know if it's a good idea. It's a good idea. But man, you stepped up, man, and like you always do. And it's been great. And these last 5 years, I was married before when we did this show last when we were doing the show 5 years ago. I was married before. It wasn't the healthiest relationship. I'm not ashamed to talk about it. It happened. It was a thing, right? It happened. We got divorced in 2017, so 3 years ago. And then 2 years ago, I met this amazing woman that I'm proud to call my wife. Nice. And, it's amazing how, because back then, I was passionate about what I did. But it does, being in a bad relationship can cause a lot of that toxicity to spill into other things in your life.
Yeah.
So that passion I had, that desire wasn't as much or as strong as it is now that I am with someone who is there with me and wants to do what I do. I mean, she goes to all these conventions with me now. She's just as into this stuff and as part of my world in a way that I've not had. It's been really great. And that's been probably the biggest a positive thing that's happened to me in the last 5 years. And not only that, but I've been blessed to have this opportunity to meet so many incredible people over the past 5 years. Like so many people. Like, we talked about Billy Mitchell last week.
Yeah.
And establishing that a little bit of relationship there with him and the world around him. And then I've had this, going to all these conventions and meeting people and people I know in the convention industry as well, and all the other industries like the movie industry, things like that, gaming industry. As we had, when we were doing the Get a Life podcast, we had tons of we have developers on the show.
Yeah.
We had already had an established that kind of communication. But now I'm like, man, I'm actually in a really great spot to be able to do a podcast. If I was ever going to do a podcast, this is a great time to do it now. Just because what I mean?
Everything that's gone on, it's a lot of people are, stay-at-home orders from governors and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those deals where, hey, what can I do from home? And, and I get it. A lot of people are either improving themselves by going to class online. Everything's online nowadays,
Oh, my God, yeah.
Are you picking up skills, going to work, doing whatever the case may be? And it's definitely getting that creative flow going. And, just to speak in terms of passion, when you have someone behind you to, encourage, man, that creativity just flows even further than you even realize, man. So I'm really glad to hear that you have, a strong woman behind you to push, to help you pursue, because trust me, man, it makes a world of a difference.
It totally does. It's one thing to try to be successful on your own, but it's another when you have people in your corner. And
the way I've seen it is the way I've seen it, I've been in a toxic relationship before, but I'm talking about almost
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it turns, I've been married for almost 15 years now. 15 years, I think next month already. But
I would say I know you've been married for a long time.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Props to that,
But
man. That's great.
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is you turn your hobby when you're in a toxic relationship. You turn your hobby into an escapism. That's your escape, trying to make sure things are cool. You cool down, whatever you use it for.
Yeah.
But when you have someone encouraging you and when you have someone pushing you, that hobby now turns into a passion. And that passion just creates all sorts of different opportunities, opens your eyes to what you can and can't do, opens your mind into a whole different mindset of getting things done. You're like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. So it's great to hear that, it seems that switch came on for you where now you have someone pushing you. Let's do this. Let's go that. Let's go to the conventions.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get it done. And I love it, man. I love it. It's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it feels good. And to also be able to just simply, excuse me, who wants to be just as involved in what you do, even though they might not understand all the things you do, they want to learn from that.
Yeah, I hear.
So I think that's how relationships should be anyway. I mean, this isn't like a relationship show. Let's not get into that. But I will say that the key to a healthy relationship with anybody, whether it's your friend or your wife or whatever, is if it's something you're not interested in, it's amazing how one person can make you interested in something, because that's life, right? I mean, there are things in life we discover on our own. I will say, like, for instance, I love horror movies, right? So if it wasn't for my aunt taking me to go see Child's Play 3 when I was 4 years old, yeah, she did.
Yeah, tell me about it, right?
I probably wouldn't like horror movies as much, right? But when you find someone, there are people who are like, oh, I could never like this. And then they find someone who likes that. And it's not so much about liking that said thing as it is seeing how that person, the passion behind that.
The passion behind it, yeah.
And then you're like, man, I kind of understand that. You know what I'm saying? So it's, I'll give a for instance, okay? So my wife really loves what I do. She loves being involved in this convention, writing, podcasting stuff. So the inverse of that, the opposite of that is she's a huge New Kids on the Block fan. Okay, if you would have told me I'd be going to a New Kids on the Block concert 10 years ago, I'd have laughed in your face. I'm like, there is no way in hell that I'm doing that. And I did that.
Man. You want to see Donnie? You want to see Donnie, man?
And I did that last year.
That's cool, man.
And I had a fun time. So I mean, it's never say never to things in life, because you never know what you're going to experience and how much joy you're going to get out of those things if you don't at least give them a chance. Anyway.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And speaking of passions, just to throw in my 2 cents in regards to it,
yeah.
I was at a Britney Spears concert not too long ago.
Hey, man.
My wife,
man.
We have a wide range of music, loves, and it can go anywhere from, the darkest of dark metal music to the pop of Britney Spears,
Yeah.
So I hear you.
No, I get it, bro. That's the beautiful part about life, man. Like, you could like country music and then be a metalhead. It's just weird. That's just life. That's the beautiful thing about life. Is the variety.
So let's touch on passions, man. I know you love going to conventions and Gen Con and all this good stuff. And, this virus has just put a halt to that, man. So, I know that we're opening up now, countries, trying to get it's trying to get it together.
Yeah.
And we are getting some businesses opening up.
Yeah.
What do you think about, conventions, man? Is that something that you think you'd be hitting up anytime soon, or something that maybe we're going to have to find a replacement for?
I am so glad you brought that up, man, because so this is something I'm going to talk about. This is a little spoiler alert for my weekly Daniel's Domain news. But conventions, I don't think anybody should be doing conventions this year at all. I'm just going to put that out there. I think that it's not a good time. I think it's too soon. I just don't see how in the hell anybody can sit there and say we're going to have a convention and have thousands of people and socially distance. I don't know, but that's me. Now we can do. Now I know there have been conventions that have been doing virtual conventions. Like I know GalaxyCon, which I've been to in Louisville. They are doing a virtual con for all of their cons. I know Wizard World. Granted, I'm not a big fan of theirs. They are doing virtual cons. They've just said to hell with it. We're canceling all of our cons this year. And I know San Diego Comic-Con canceled.
Yeah,
I don't think they're doing. I don't know. They might be doing a virtual con. It'd be kind of weird if they.
I haven't heard any word of it though.
But
that
they
would
canceled.
definitely be a big one, you know.
And then actually 2 days ago, or was it 3 days ago, Gen Con in Indianapolis finally canceled. They canceled. And it's actually really funny because my guest in June that he's already agreed to be on the show. His name is Carl. He actually is one of the organizers and heads, if you will, of a convention local to Indianapolis called PopCon.
Yeah.
And as of now, they are the only convention that has yet to do anything. They have not said if they're going to cancel. They have not said if they're going to delay. And this convention is in the middle of July, so the clock on it is kind of, you better say something soon. So my opinion, that's going to make for a very interesting show.
Yeah.
Next month if they decide to move forward, because I don't think. Here's my take. You got to put people over profits. You have to. I know that's not easy to do. I'm not a business owner per se, but I've always felt like I've had a pretty good business mindset. I mean, it sucks, but I think a lot of people are just going to have to take an L this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not easy. I'm sure this wasn't easy for Gen Con, who, I mean, they rake in millions of dollars in a 4-day period. Well, actually, it's a weekly. It's not even a week convention. It's 4 days, but that whole week is basically Gen Con week.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got people flying in from all around the world, which, granted, is another reason why I'm sure they canceled, because they don't want people spreading this all around the world. You know, the risks were way too high. I've even had this thought of like, well, okay, you know, okay, what if you have 5,000 attendees and put a limit? But I'm like, how do you social distance? The logistics of everything just doesn't seem like it would be a good idea to do it in person. And
you would have to overhaul everything because, you know, you made mention of flights. You made mention of worldwide people, you know. People come from all over the place to check these things out.
Yeah.
So now you have to make sure the hotel is, you know.
So I'll say this.
Keeping their social distancing, you know, the events themselves, you know.
I was talking to my friend James, also known as Duralex, which, by the way, big shout out to Duralex. He's the guy that actually does our video edits for us and puts together our video podcast when we do those. So go check him out, youtube.com/Duralex. I'll put a link in the description below here. Cool. But he actually goes to a lot of these conventions with me too. He does he's like my photographer basically. He goes with me. And we're talking about PopCon last night, and I'm not trying to put them in the forefront, but they kind of are, because they are so far the only convention that has yet to actually cancel their convention in Indianapolis. So they're going to get that spotlight on them. I look at it like this, okay? Indianapolis is still considered I believe it's still considered a hot spot. Last I checked the map, the CDC map, they were like kind of a light blue as opposed to a gray, where the numbers were not high, but like they're still considered a hot spot. Here's my thing. No one's going to be able to go to Gen Con now. It's canceled. No one's going to be able to go to Indiana Comic Con or Comic Convention. It's canceled. The only conventions that are supposed to be happening still this year are pushed out until September, and that's Days of the Dead and Horror Hound Weekend. But those are in September, so I'm thinking that might be okay. They might be okay. But the only convention that is left in the middle of summer is PopCon. So here's my ordeal. If they decide to have this mindset of, okay, we haven't had a lot of people come to our convention anyway in the last 3 years because I'll be honest, you know, I'm not gonna lie. about any of these numbers, but their numbers have been pretty declining since 2016. And I have been to every single PopCon they've had. And I've seen it for myself. Last year, the numbers were not that great. Okay, even for a Saturday, they didn't have that. They didn't have as much as you would think they would have at a convention on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So if they say, hey, you know what the hell? Let's have a convention. Let's go ahead and have an actual in-person convention. Let's move full steam ahead. We'll try to have some, obviously, like precautions in place. We can't just like pretend like nothing's gonna happen, nothing's wrong. But here's my fear. Not necessarily fear. Here's my concern. You're going to be the only convention that's going to go on in the middle of summer in downtown Indianapolis when no other conventions are going on. You have just made yourself a target for a ton of attendees. Because when you have people who can't go to Gen Con, or they can't go to this convention, or can't go to that convention, but they're like, oh, well, there is a convention. Because some people just don't give a damn. They're like, oh, well, there's a convention. I'm going to go to it. I can't go to this con, or this con, so I'm going to go to this con. Do you see where I'm going here with this?
Yeah.
It's so I think that if they move forward with a convention, they're going to have a big spike in attendees if they don't limit the amount of attendees they have, which they should. It's going to be bad because people just have that convention itch. I mean, we've seen it all across the country. People are just getting cooped up in their homes. They want to go out and have coffee at a coffee shop. They want to go to the bookstore. They want to go shopping. People want to do all this shit, right? They don't want to be cooped up in their homes all day. Granted, they can go take walks and go for drives and stuff, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
But if they know there's a convention happening, it's just period. All right? They're going to go.
Let me play a devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
PopCon. 2016, 2018, whatever. Numbers are declining.
Yeah.
They definitely want to have those bodies in there because they want to try to revive their brand, to have that spike to come up. Because you know what? It's a spike.
Right.
But I'm not sure if you've seen, the ESPN, The Last Dance. Have you got a cut of that?
I tried watching. I started to watch like the first, because trust me, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. So I started watching the first episode, but like as life happens, things come up, but I have not had a chance to watch all of it or even the first episode.
We'll touch base on it real quickly. Catch it. It's amazing. But the point being is that the point being is that in a world right now where there's no sports, everybody was captivated by that to catch that. Translating that over to PopCon.
Yeah.
There's no cons, man. Everyone's going to go on there and they're hoping to retain some of those people from that spike to continue to move forward.
Yeah.
But they got to do it right. They can't let things get out of hand because we are in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
There has to be limitations there. But I can see why they're holding off.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're struggling, if your numbers are going down, you definitely don't want to lower the quality of your show. But you're hoping to be able to get something out there in a world or in a city where there just isn't anything out there. So you're meeting that demand. Yeah. Meeting that demand, but you got to do it right. Don't screw this up because it's gonna kill you, man.
And actually, I'm glad that was my next point. I was also talking to my friend about this late last night. He was, and I was like, we were just like, their numbers are already on the decline as it is. So, do they really want to take the risk of this possibly being the nail in the coffin? Because that's a lot of. You have to look at, people are so quick these days in social media and the internet to get so emotionally driven with responses. It's a very emotionally driven response on the internet where, you get your feelings hurt or something said to you, whatever. And you just run right to Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And you hammer out a response that's all fueled by emotion. Right. So they don't want that negative press. I would assume they wouldn't want that negative press because if you end up being the only convention in a major city like Indianapolis to have a con in the middle of summer during the pandemic, you're probably not going to get the attention that you want. It's going to be the inverse of that. And for PopCon Indy right now, with having already declined numbers, I kind of see I always try to see things from two sides of the sword. It's a double-edged sword. Like, okay, yeah, this is a perfect opportunity for us to have a lot of attendees because we're already a declining convention. So if we're the only convention in Indianapolis, let's go ahead and have it because then nobody else has any other conventions to go to this summer. So hey, we have one. Okay, but the same token, if it wasn't for this being a pandemic, if this was anything else but a pandemic, I could see them being like, hey, it's a great opportunity. be the opportunist that you should be, right? This is a business. That's a great business opportunity. But we are in a pandemic. So you have to take a look at the marketing and the press. Do you really want to get hundreds of people or maybe even thousands of people pissed off at you because you're deciding to have one when Gen Con, which is the biggest tabletop RPG and role-playing game convention in North America, granted, it's not a fair comparison because they get 40,000 plus attendees in a 4-day weekend versus PopCon, who never releases their convention numbers for some weird reason. But I would estimate they probably get about 5,000 to 8,000 attendees, maybe a little bit more in a weekend. So obviously, you know, their numbers are not even 10 times less than Gen Con. Let's put it that way. Do you really want to do that to yourself? Like, do you really want to, as you're already on a decline? Do you want, you know, is it a bold but wise marketing move? I mean, it's a bold move. I will say that it's a very bold move.
Yeah, definitely is.
It's a very bold move. But when your convention is already on a decline, like it has been the last 3 years, do you really want? This could be the nail in the coffin, because I don't see there being any reasonable way, like, you know, they don't have as many attendees. Let's face it, they don't have as many attendees. They're not going to have as many attendees. Okay, so you say, Brian, why don't they limit it to 5,000 people? Limit it to 5,000 people and then roll over everybody else's badge. Then you say, how do you determine which 5,000 people get to go?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of schematics that needs to be in play here to figure it out, because people will be mad.
So I feel like there's just too many variables and too many things logistically they have to figure out in a month and a half's time, that I think it would really just be beneficial for them to say, look, we're not going to do it this year. By the way, the other thing you also have to understand is you have celebrities who are worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, they're showing up to these things.
Do you think they're going to come? Do you
see, this is the...
Yeah.
Huh?
And
it's there's just so many moving pieces.
Yeah, man.
But I'm going to look at it from this point of view. Mm-hmm. Or let's look at it this way.
Sure.
Why are they even holding off, postponing or canceling or even, you know, doing anything? What I think, being, if I was a business owner or I'm hosting this event, I'm maybe seeing this as a last ditch effort. Like, maybe my con is not doing so well that we're not going to survive unless we do something drastic, because this is drastic. So it could be just a matter of, hey, maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that they're just saying we got to do it, because if we don't, we're gonna go under. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I get they have.
We just don't know. Yeah, we just don't know.
I mean, they have. It's not like they have a CEO or anything. It's a very homegrown convention, so they don't have like a board of directors they have to go to and approve. You know, this is all people who live in Indiana, and majority of which live in Indianapolis, who run this con. So it's kind of like they probably just jump on a Zoom meeting and say, okay, here's what we're going to do today. Like, here's what we need to figure out. They don't have to go to these guys in suits and tell them, and then they vote on it, right? It's you know, so they have a lot more flexibility in the decisions they can make. But let's face it, man, June is going to be here in about a week, right?
Yep.
So, and this convention, I think, is like the 15th through the 17th or something like that. I believe. So they've probably got about a month and a half. Let's be safe. Yeah, it's the 10th through the 12th. I'm looking at my calendar. So they have just about a month to figure this out. Now, on their message board, on their Facebook page, rather, they're already getting people who are like getting pissed at them, like, oh, you guys don't care about people. Which I know the guys who run the show, that's absolutely not true. And once again, that's one of those emotional feelings.
Emotional field. Yeah.
I mentioned earlier is like, oh, you guys don't care about humans. You guys suck. Whatever. That's not true.
Yeah.
But I am curious as to, like, okay, how long are you guys going to really wait? Because you got people, like you said, who have hotels that are booked, who may be driving from, we'll say, Chicago, or places like that in the surrounding area, the Midwest, to come to this con. You can't just wait until 2 weeks before the show. Oh, we're not going to have it. So my thing is, here's what I would tell everybody who's listening, and maybe you're going to be going to this convention or planning on it. And if you're one of those people who is of the mindset of, I really wish PopCon would make a damn decision, you might need to be the one making the decision for them. I would recommend that I would look at it like this, is you probably want to make a plan or call a hotel or set or be okay with the fact that this show is probably not going to go on. And if you're so of the mindset of you can't wait and you're tired of waiting for them to make an announcement, then just cancel. Just don't go. Just don't.
Yeah,
go.
the power's always in the consumer.
You always have the power. We live in a democracy. You have the power, and that democracy doesn't just involve political democracy. You have that power to vote with your wallet. People forget that. So just don't go. Like, you don't have to wait for them to tell you if you're going to go or not. Just don't go. And honestly, I think that it's a bad idea if any conventions happen this year. I mean, maybe I take that back. Maybe in the fall, like September, October, etc., we might be better. But look, we thought back in March that we would be okay now, and we're still not, right? So who knows? Who knows at this point? I'm tired of talking about this virus. Let's get on to something else.
Yeah, it's definitely put a halt on a lot of our good times right now. So
let's get into the gaming industry, man. We got let's see. We've got so we're talking about where we've been the past 5 years, man. Video games have definitely evolved, right? In the last 5 years, we had. I remember one of the episodes you and I did of our old podcast. We talked about the PlayStation 4 being unveiled. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been.
Yeah,
huh?
that's been that long. Yeah, I remember that. So we're currently in the generation of the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the Nintendo Switch. Victor, do you have a Switch at home, man?
I do actually. Yeah.
What games you got for it, bub? What do you got? What do you got on your Switch? What are you playing right now? What do you have on your Switch that's like really pulling you into playing your Switch?
There's three things that are really pulling me into the Switch. Smash Brothers always pulls me in, man. I love it because I get the kids around and we all just bang it out with different links and we take care of business against each other. Love it. The other things that are really pulling me in, believe it or not, are the NES console and the SNES console, man. I go into those and I check it out and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe this is the kind of stuff I would play as a kid, and I'd relive it. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I'm sorry, Super Ghouls and
Ghouls and Goblins.
Ghouls and Goblins. Sorry. Yeah. I was on that last night actually, and I was like, oh man, I can't believe we got through this whole thing. I only have to go back to the beginning and do it again.
That game is so damn hard,
man. I was like, screw this.
That game is so damn hard. I've never beat that game.
You did it? I did, but it was it's not easy.
Pain.
But it was funny because I mentioned it because as I'm going through the titles and I got my kids sitting next to me who've never played the damn thing, but they recognize Arthur because they're big fans of Smash Brothers. So like, hey, is that the guy that runs around in boxers? I'm like, yeah, check it out.
Yes,
so I get hit by one of the zombies, and there he goes. I was like, oh, that's him. Like, yeah, it's him, man. This is where he comes from. This is his game, And so even then, I think he was in an NES game before the Super Nintendo was. So
I didn't get a Switch until Christmas time, which is really funny because I won a Nintendo Switch on a contest.
Nice.
I won one. And a mutual friend of my wife and I, she let us do that game sharing thing. You log into somebody's account on your console or whatever. So I was able to play Breath of the Wild finally. Because I hadn't played that game.
I have that.
I had been dying for like 2 years to play that game. And I just finished it. I think like about a month or two ago. I finally sat down and beat it. And that was it. I'm a huge Zelda fan. I love collecting Zelda stuff. And what a game! What a great game! I mean, really.
It is.
I never, that's another thing that has evolved too. Like we talk about games and stuff like that. The way we play games, like I just got a PlayStation 4 again. I had one a long time ago, but I had to get rid of it for reasons. But I just got a PS4 like about 2 weeks ago, and I went all in. I got a PS4, then I bought God of War, I got Death Stranding, I got Spider-Man, and Days Gone, and I've picked up some other games too. But it's amazing how like games like God of War and Breath of the Wild have those franchises have evolved.
Yeah.
I never thought I would really enjoy Breath of the Wild as this kind of semi-action RPG and with the Diablo mix in where you're picking up loot and stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
like me. I'm a big looter game guy. I've always loved Diablo, like 1, 2, and 3, of course, which I own. And then you've got God of War doing pretty much the same thing in a way.
Yeah. The
God,
open world.
such great games, man.
The open world seems to be the way that most games are going, unless it's a platformer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, you're looking at God of War doing that same type of style. Breath of the Wild did it wonderfully. It was amazing. Yeah. And then if you want to take that a step further, we're taking an old game like Final Fantasy VII and opening that up to a semi-open world type thing. It's not so linear as the original game was.
Yeah.
So it's giving you that freedom with limitations, I guess is the best way to say. Yeah. But it's still that freedom to move around. You now have that 3D action going on, and it's not so stuck in place, Like Final Fantasy 15 had that open world too, but I kind of felt that one kind of missed it. It was a little odd because you had to have the places you need to be, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way most games are now heading towards, is that open world, explore, loot up, figure it out type deal, where it's not so linear. It's not so, I'm holding your hand, baby. You got to go to dungeon 1, then go to dungeon 2, and then we're going to go this way. Nah, it's here you go. We're going to give you a stick, figure it out. You know, and that's how it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Final Fantasy VII remake. I have that too.
Nice. Yeah.
And I've been thoroughly enjoying that. I just got to the part. Spoilers. It's an old game. If you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII at all,
you're listening to the wrong podcast, my friend.
Get your ass home and buy it. It's on like everything now. It's on Switch. It's on PS4. It's on PC. It's on the Xbox. Go buy the original. Play it first, because they did change the story elements up a little bit. But I am loving this remake, man. Like, I'm at the part now where he crashed through the ceiling of the church with Aerith. And it's just, man, it brings me back. I'm like, man, like, this is. I remember when I was a kid and this game. Remember back in the day when like games had like 4 or 5 discs, dude, and you had to like swap discs.
Yeah, that's right. Final Fantasy VII had that 3-disc set that you had to switch.
Dude, I thought that was so crazy, dude.
I was like, oh man, so much game, it can't be contained in one disc.
And they had memory cards. Remember we had memory cards, dude, back in the day.
8 megabits, 8 megabytes, just
8
so
megabytes.
You guys know, the PlayStation 2. Yeah.
Speaking of those, speaking of memory cards, let's talk about this. This is going to tie into next gen.
Yeah, I got some comments there.
So we got I do too. So we got coming up probably this fall once again with everything going on. It sucks when you don't want. Here's what sucks. I'm going to talk about this real fast, and we'll get into it. It sucks trying to talk about things right now in the world because pretty much anything you talk about can be tied to that shit. But I'm moving on.
Yeah. I hear you.
Even when you try to get away from it, it's like somehow
it comes back.
It infects you in some way. No pun intended. But anyway,
it was intended. Don't lie to the people.
It was intended. Okay. You got me. It was intended. But so we have the releases of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X coming out this fall. Yeah. And they are bringing back at least Xbox is or Microsoft is. I think PlayStation might be, but they're bringing back like memory cards in like the form of like an SSD card to place in the back of the Xbox Series X. So that's something that's interesting that we're getting back to physical storage.
Yeah,
is weird because we're so used to the cloud and all this stuff. But let's talk about these two consoles, Victor, because man, oh man, Microsoft has a lot to prove. Let's just face it, Microsoft has a lot to prove this coming generation. They they didn't start off this console generation we're in currently. They pretty much gave the W to Sony right off the bat at the 2013 E3 press conference, which, by the way, if you want to laugh and yet be mad at Microsoft at the same time, I encourage you all to go on YouTube and watch the 2013 E3 press conference, because what else do you have to do with your life right now? You don't. And then also go and watch Don Matrick's interview with Jeff Keighley, where he tells everybody, well, if you don't have the internet, go back to Xbox 360, right? Because that was smart to tell people. They started off this console generation basically handing Sony a W, you know, and I'll never forget Sony's infamous thing they put on YouTube of how here's how you game share with a friend, and he gave him the disc. That was all he did. That was such an attack on Xbox back then. But
yeah, that's so funny, dude.
But Microsoft has there's a lot of things I want to say about Microsoft. First off, they have failed epically in the way of exclusives, but they have also failed in the way in which they use the word exclusive. And I've gotten to several heated debates online, mostly on Reddit, about the word exclusive. And I don't know about you, Victor, but to me, we grew up during the age of Sega and Nintendo, right? Yeah. You know, we had the Genesis versus the Super Nintendo. That was like the big, at least I know for me, maybe for you, that was the big thing, right? Sonic versus Mario. And you couldn't play Sonic on anything else but a Sega Genesis. You couldn't play Mario, and honestly, you really still can't play Mario on anything else but a Nintendo console. Yeah, and that is what an exclusive is. And that is still, folks, what an exclusive is. But Microsoft at Gamescom in 2014 decided, we're just going to change that. We're just going to forget everything you've ever known your entire life about gaming and gamer terminology, and we're just going to throw it out the window. Because we're going to make up words and we're going to make up things to try to make the games that we release, which are not even an exclusive, seem like they are an exclusive. And it started with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember this or not, but when they announced Shadow of the Tomb Raider at Gamescom, which is a big gaming convention, I believe it's in Germany every year, they announced that Shadow of the Tomb Raider was an exclusive to Xbox. They specifically said this is an Xbox exclusive. And the whole world got mad because it's Tomb Raider, which has always been a Sony game, right? Like, we grew up playing Lara Croft on the PlayStation, right? So, of course, you got Sony fanboys who are all pissed to high hell. How dare you take our girl away, you know, from us. That's okay, though. They ended up getting Drake. They got Nathan Drake later. It's okay. You guys are going to be fine, right? But they got Uncharted. So then they started getting questioned by a lot of journalists, you know, and they were saying, so you're telling us that you guys now own the rights to Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider, franchise. And Microsoft's like, whoa, we didn't say that.
Yeah, you did. You said exclusive.
You did. You said exclusive. So then they made up this term called timed exclusive, which had never been heard before. And this is where it started getting really stupid with the term exclusive. And it still pisses me off to this day, because as an old school gamer, you know, and someone who is a writer, and I know my terminology, Microsoft has fumbled, if you will, what it means by exclusive. So they said, oh, no, it's a timed exclusive. Don't worry, you'll be able to play it on the PS4 in a year. And, of course, that still pissed off people from Sony, because they're like, okay, what's the point of a timed exclusive if we're going to play it anyway? Why the hell not just let us all play it, right? I mean, why? Why make us wait a year?
Why even bother? Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to have it, and that's the same thing that's going on with Final Fantasy VII Remake, because Sony went from saying it's a PS4 exclusive, only on PS4. Now, if you look on their commercials, it says first on PS4. So it's actually a timed exclusive too. I hate timed exclusives. They're stupid. I think it's dumb. I think it's pointless. I think it's a stupid, cheap tactic to try to get somebody to buy that console. It's dumb. If you're going to release a game and it's going to eventually be on another console, just put it on the consoles. Let everybody be able to play the game, right? When it comes to timed exclusives. And then
so like you said, man, it's a marketing tactic. Marketing tactic is what it is, and it's stupid. I don't like it.
And then Microsoft started doing this thing called console exclusive, or in which it comes out on the Xbox One and the PC. I'm thinking, wait, that's still not an exclusive. Like if I bought a Switch and I wanted to play Animal Crossing, because it is a true exclusive. It actually is on only one platform. And then I found out 3 days later that I could have been playing it on my PC. I'd be a little pissed that I just spent $300 for one game.
Mm-hmm. So I could have had on a PC that I already own type deal.
So to all of you people out there in the world that I've debated about or whatever, you guys still don't know what an exclusive is. An exclusive is back when we had Sega and Nintendo. A true exclusive is like Splatoon 2. You can't play it on anything else but a Switch. You can't say that about you can't say that about Breath of the Wild because you can play it on the Switch and a Wii U, but it's still only on the Nintendo console.
Console, yeah.
No, Microsoft, you can't claim PC as a console or PC as your platform because you can put Linux on a PC. You can put all kinds of other operating systems on a PC. Windows is not the exclusive operating system to any PC because PCs you can have whatever the hell you want. So I really want them to – that's what's going to – in my opinion, if they don't have any actual true exclusives that I can only play on an Xbox Series X next gen, then you have given me no reason, or any gamer that has a PC, no reason to buy your console. None.
It reminds me, dude. It reminds me so much of. I'm not sure if you remember this. Speaking of exclusives, Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah,
it reminds me so much of Soul Calibur.
Love that game.
How when each of the main consoles, Nintendo, Sega, and Microsoft, had their own version of the game, but in that particular instance, I would consider it an exclusive because the Nintendo game only had Link, was it? And I believe Microsoft only had Spawn.
Yeah.
It had that
Yeah.
exclusive character for that console only.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can play the game for, all three of the platforms, but it still has exclusive content. And I don't see that with this generation. It's the same freaking game all the way across. So it's like, dude, don't call it an exclusive. It's the same fucking thing.
Well, then they do this stuff where they do this what's it called? Store exclusive stuff now, where like if you buy the game at Best Buy, you get this. If you buy the game at Target, you get this. And I'm like, okay, this is getting stupid. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. But let's
you get a poster. You get a poster with the Target stamp on it.
But Microsoft has a lot to prove this coming gen. They got to have some good exclusives. They bought a bunch of studios. They got like Team Ninja, Obsidian Entertainment, who came out with The Outer Worlds earlier this year, with a fantastic game. They've already announced a couple exclusives. You got the Hellblade 2, which, oh my God, if you have not played the first Hellblade game, it is a phenomenal game. And that Hellblade 2 is going to be, I can't really say exclusive. It's going to be on the Xbox. Let's put it that way. And then, of course, Halo Infinite will be, the rumor has it that's going to be their launch game, which would make the most sense. If you want to have a console come out, you got to start strong. But Microsoft has really been at the forefront because they've put themselves all out there. We know what their console looks like. We know what the specs are. We're looking at the specs. It looks like it is going to be more powerful than the PlayStation 5, but sometimes that doesn't matter because, we can only, the human eye can only see. Like, I'll tell you what, I own an Xbox Series X and I own a regular PlayStation 4. I don't have a PS4 Pro. And I have a 4K Samsung TV. There are times where I'll be playing my PS4 and a lot of the games look better on the PS4 and not so much on the Xbox One X. Sorry. So it just kind of depends on how, because we all see the world differently, right? So what might look good to me might not look so good to you, whatever. So Microsoft has been very forthcoming. They're starting off strong. They put everything out there. They didn't really change the controller at all, albeit they did. Oh, they did. They actually changed the D-pad. The D-pad has that rounded look to it, kind of like the Elite controller. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, that's right.
But it has that more rounded D-pad. But let's talk about Sony. Sony has not shown us anything but the controller. We don't know what this console is going to look like. If it looks anything like how the controller is going to look, it's going to be very interesting. Let's put it that way. There's only one exclusive that they've announced, and it's called Godfall, and it looks really, really good. But that's all we've got. That's all we know. We know the specifications of the PS5. We don't know if it's going to be backwards compatible. Rumor has it it's not, which really sucks.
Yeah, that's what I remember hearing, that it's not.
I know that Microsoft has been very forthcoming, saying that you'll be able to play all of your Xbox One games on the Series X. I'm not a big fan of the name of the Series X. I don't like that name. I think that's kind of a stupid name. Because I know people are saying you can confuse it with the Xbox One X. You're not going to confuse it.
Yeah.
Just, like if you go, because I remember there was this big debate. Oh well, what if some kid's mom goes in and is trying to buy the Series X, but she gets her son the Xbox One X instead? That's not going to happen, folks. I used to work at GameStop for several years. They're not going to let you buy the cheap console. They're going to make sure that everybody gets the most expensive one. They're going to make sure everybody gets the new one. They're not going to do that. But I'm not a fan of the name. I think they should have done something different. I don't like the series. But whatever. What's a name really, right? I mean, I guess as long as it's great, I don't care what they call it, but whatever. Because just like how my grandma called everything that I ever played a Nintendo, I'm probably just going to call it, I'm probably just going to call it Xbox. So that's what we call them anyway. But the PlayStation 5, Sony has been not as forthcoming about things. We don't know what the hell this looks like. I got to ask you something, Victor.
What's up?
What do you think about the PlayStation 5 Dual Sense controller? Have you seen this thing?
I'm looking at it right now, actually.
What do you think about it?
Checking out this. I don't know, man. I mean,
like, what's
we're
your
getting
first
visuals
impression
of it. Well, looking at it right off the bat, it looks very similar to the PlayStation 4 controller.
Okay.
With the exception of that bra-looking thing that's on it, if I'm looking at the right one.
I'm glad you said that.
But that's what it looks like to me, man.
It does
it's
look
like,
to me. It looks like it's wearing a dress.
It looks like that car. Back in the day when these things were super popular, when they would have like this car bra type thing on cars.
Yes.
That people would strap in front of it.
Yes.
I kind of always thought it was pointless. I thought it looked funny. I think it's the same thing here. It's like you strapped on some black thing on the bottom of it. It looks kind of ridiculous.
It does kind of look ridiculous,
But it's like, it looks similar to the PS4 with that exception. I mean, just color the whole thing black. I mean, everybody wants solid colors, whether it be a whole black, whole white, whatever. But when you add this accent to it, it looks funny, man. It just looks really funny.
It kind of makes me, it's kind of like, not saying, it's kind of like when people do that matte and like poly or polished finished on a car. You know what I mean? It just looks terrible. It looks bad.
It's just a funny,
and you're just thing, like, why did you do that? So I'm looking at the controller too, so we can talk. So
yeah, I'm looking at the white one with the black bottom on it.
That's the standard color.
Is that the standard color?
That's the standard color.
Design on it.
And that's why I'm a little concerned about the console, the way the console looks. I'm a little concerned if it's. I hope the console doesn't look like that. It's gonna look.
Oh man. Well, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking here the console might be white. If the majority of the controller is white, if it's gonna match the console itself, and I'm gonna assume it's gonna have black accents on it. So I don't know, man. It's gonna look a little weird. I think.
I will say
this is what they're going with.
The controller, because I hadn't had a PS4 a DualShock 4 controller. I hadn't had a PlayStation 4 in a while. So I've been playing the PS4 controller, and I like how light the PS4 controller is. Really light compared to the Xbox One controller.
Yeah.
because it doesn't have the battery pack stuff in the back like a PS4 controller does, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Looking at this controller, it's called the Dual Sense. They are not using the Dual Shock anymore. It looks like an Xbox One controller. Like, because it's wider. It looks like it's a little bit more wide. And I'm not talking width-wise. I'm talking height-wise. It's a little bit more wider that way. The light bar, they, instead of putting it in the touchpad and then having it on top of the controller, like on the DualShock 4, it's kind of built into the sides, which looks like the straps of the bra, if you will.
Yeah.
And I've never really been a fan of the light bar. I mean, that's what causes the PS4 controllers to go out so quick with a charge, is the light. You can't turn the light off. I wish you could. And at least on the Xbox controllers, it's very minimalistic on the light bar, on the color. I believe it looks like they're going back and they're using the touchpad again on this controller. I'm assuming that's what that is in the middle. Now, I don't know if you've seen it or had a chance to get to that part in the article here. I'm looking at the PlayStation blog article, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that, but Victor, it has a built-in microphone on the controller.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now, right in the middle, right in the front.
Yeah, and you can, so that way you can talk to people. It says DualSense also adds a built-in microphone array, which will enable players to easily chat with friends without a headset. So I don't know. I mean, if I'm sitting there hitting buttons and moving my sticks around, and I'm trying to talk to you in my controller, are you going to be able to hear is it going to be just a bunch of like my sticks moving around?
Yeah, and that's the question, is the sensitivity of this microphone. Because if the microphone is attached to the controller and you need to be speaking into this as you're playing, it's going to be tap tap tap, and then a voice in the background. What about the other crap going around the rest of your home?
I like the
picked up by this.
I like the curved D-pad. It's kind of cool looking. I don't know.
You know what? I'm looking at this controller still. Can I be wrong here? Is that PS symbol right in the middle of that controller a button?
It could be. I think it is. It's sticking out. I would imagine it is. I would imagine it is. Yeah.
All right, let's just speculate here for a second. Wouldn't it be crazy if you wanted to speak into this microphone and you had to press that button and hold it?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something, man? Wouldn't that be something? Now, how are you going to play a game and talk to your buddies? And
are you looking at the front of the controller? Do you have a really good zoomed in view of it?
I got the front of the controller. That's what I'm looking at.
Let me zoom in. So if you really zoom in on this, do you notice there is? I see it. There's a mute button on the controller.
Right?
It's right under the PlayStation logo. Yeah, you see that? So maybe you have to push that button to like unmute yourself and talk into the mic as opposed to hitting. I'm assuming that PlayStation button is just like the one on the PS4 controller. It takes you to the home screen. So the button underneath it. I never noticed there was a button there until now. I literally just zoomed in.
Yeah, there's a small like rectangular sized button. Looks like a select button from back in the day. But I mean, it's down there right above that microphone symbol, which I'm assuming it's a microphone symbol.
Yeah, it's got a cross through it, so it's like a mute. It's like mute.
Yeah, right. But so it's like maybe I don't know, man. It's a press and hold, or just a press. I don't know.
Well, it looks like there's a light under there too. So maybe when you push it, there's no light. I'm sorry, this is connector right there.
That's the connector. That's where you plug something in, dude.
I don't know.
But just speaking back on the design, I'm not too thrilled about the white on white in regards to the buttons, man, and the D-pad.
Yeah, I don't like the white.
It would have just been better. It would have been better if the D-pad just stuck out a little bit more with a different color scheme. Maybe another black one. I don't know.
I don't like the white on white. I think that's ugly. I think the controller's ugly.
It's hideous, dude.
I think the controller's ugly. I mean, it doesn't look. Now I've seen some concept art of people who have made like Dragon Ball Z controller variants of this, and they look cool. But I'm not going to pay $85 to get a Dragon Ball Z looking controller. I mean, this is what you're going to get when you buy it. Now, granted, is it going to stop me from playing the PS5? No, I mean, it's not. Like we grew up playing the Nintendo 64 controller, and that thing looked like a damn
That thing was hideous too. Yeah.
like you're controlling a transformer with that damn thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That was weird.
Know,
that was a weird change,
the different positionings. So I mean, controllers, that doesn't always
they
mean
come
anything.
and go.
But
yeah, and I see it, but
But yeah, I don't know. But I think Sony in this next generation, I think they're being a little bit more, maybe even a little too relaxed on this next gen, because they crushed it this gen. They definitely killed it in sales. They definitely destroyed the Xbox in sales. Yeah. However, I hope they don't get too complacent with themselves as a company to the point where they are like, okay, we don't really have to try that much,
Yeah. And that's always the thing, it's almost like when you dominate an opponent. I'm sorry, I went to the muted section back.
Yeah, you're good.
Like, I dominated an opponent. It's like, I got to go down to their level, let me take it down a notch.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't really want to see. You're supposed to be pushing each other for greater, better things.
Yeah.
And I just really hope this is not a misstep for Sony to, take a small step down because, they feel overconfident.
Yeah.
Or they just, they said, we got this in the bag, guys.
Yeah.
Let's just mail it in,
Yeah. What do you think about Microsoft's chances this coming generation?
I don't know, man. You know what? It's always tough to say at the beginning, always, because at the beginning, you want to say you're going to come out with your strongest stuff, but you don't. It's always just the initial tapping of the power of your console. It's not until maybe year 2 or 3 when developers really start pushing to see what the console can do, and that's when we start getting some great titles out. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's still too early to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a puncher's chance, in my opinion. But I mean, you just don't know what comes in year 2, what comes in year 3, when we really start to see the power of what the console can do.
Here's my hope. This generation was all about the remake and the remaster. And I know you and I have had this conversation before, and I think you kind of know how I feel about that. I am not a fan of the market being flooded with all these remakes, with all these remasters, because we're getting into Hollywood type territory. Okay, where this series hasn't had anything done to it. Let's bring it back. That I'm kind of for. I'm for them bringing back stuff that we haven't had in a long time. But I mean, I don't want an HD. What are we gonna do in next gen? Are we gonna remaster all the game? Are we gonna do a Red Dead Redemption 2 remaster? I mean, the game looks great as it is already. I don't think we need to do it again. Like it looks great in 4K on the Xbox.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm hoping that this next gen we have a lot more, originality from both players. A lot more new IPs, man. Yeah, we need those.
I've always seen the remastered / reboot as I'm kind of running low on ideas here, guys. Let's go back to something tried and true. Yeah. And let's just, put a nice fresh coat of paint on it, maybe add some extra stuff on it, and then go from there. Yeah. I'm going to say Final Fantasy VII Remake is the exception, only because we've been talking about a remake or reboot from Final Fantasy VII since God knows when.
Dude, it's been over 10 years.
So this is something that's been in the constant conversation and the flow. It's always been in the back of someone's mind as to when are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? Yeah. Well, I don't think this is we're running out of ideas, guys. Let's do it. I just think this is a long time coming. Yeah. And we finally got it. But when you see like, I love Shadow of the Colossus, but when it says, remastered or remade, it's like, dude, you ran out of an idea that you had to redo this again, Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, come on. Yeah.
I don't like when they do remasters of games and they try to sell them for $59.99.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, you can't. You're gonna sell this game to me at full price that I've already paid for full price when it first came out? No, don't do that to me.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't think of there being very many games that have done that. I don't think that like The Last of Us remaster. I don't think it did that. I think it was like $40. But I have seen games where they've done remasters and they've been like $60. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, no.
That's crazy to me.
That's
You know who did it? You know who did it right? Nintendo did it right. They had the Nintendo Selects, which I think were not just the old school games, but I think they kind of revamped them a little bit. Or I could be wrong, maybe not. But either way, it was an old game that was like $20, dude. You know.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Nintendo in this conversation because here's why. You did hear that they're going to be remaking Mario games now.
That's right. I did hear
that, right? The rumor is that they are planning on a Mario 64 remake.
Yeah, that's the one that I remember reading about.
Which is interesting. And then somebody was saying that they're also talking about Mario Galaxy and possibly Mario Sunshine. I would love if they did Mario Sunshine. Mario Sunshine is one of the best Mario games, period, in my opinion.
Look, when you think about it, I think the Mario, I'm not so sure about Galaxy, but Sunshine and 64, I think they lend themselves really well to a revamped version of the game. Let's just say a remake.
Me too. I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And if you can imagine that, Mario flying through the air or whatever the case may be as in 64, in a better engine and a better stature as to what 64 was capable of doing, that would be a pretty amazing looking game. Same deal with Sunshine, That's just something that would work.
You know what's crazy? We talk about everybody talks so much about Sony and Microsoft, Sony versus Microsoft all the time. I feel like Nintendo doesn't get enough of attention or props as it should. Because, dude, they are such an anomaly in the gaming industry. Like, they don't put out 4K games. They've never been really up to speed with resolution. They've always been like a step behind their competition in terms of graphics and high fidelity and things like that. They've always been a step behind, which I thought was so weird. But what it is about Nintendo, it is about their identity. People love Mario. That's what we grew up with. That's what we're going to show our kids. I'm sure you've shown all your children Mario. I know you have kids. Yeah.
I mean,
see,
the way I've seen it,
it's insane that Nintendo has just been able to maintain, over the years.
And I think that's what makes it. I think that's what makes them stick out. This is how I've always seen the consoles, and I will continue to see them until I see something different.
Yeah.
But when I want to have fun, I will play on a Nintendo console because those games are fun.
Yeah.
That's just
pure fun.
Straight to the point. They're just fun. If I want to be entranced or I want to be engaged in some pretty action-heavy stuff, or I want to listen to a good story or play out a great story, then I'm looking at a PS4, PS5. New gen console is what I'm going because we got BioShock on there that gives that great story.
Yeah.
Or we have shooters like Halo and whatnot. Where it's just going at it with each other.
Yep.
So those are just the type of the identity that each of these consoles, or I should say companies, have just embraced, and that's what they go with. Because I don't go for Xbox for fun. I just don't do that. I'll be like, all right, I'm ready to kick some ass. Let me get on my Xbox and start banging out on whatever the hell game I decide to play. Or you know what? I got to get into Infinite. I got to get into Uncharted. I got to get into that story mode. Whereas for Nintendo, it's like, dude, let's just kill some time. Let's have some fun. Let's have a couple matches on Brawl. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. Or as Animal Crossing is the perfect example of this. Just going in there just to kill time, just have fun.
Well, what I love about Nintendo is it's my childhood, man. I will never not be a Mario fan. Like, I will never not be a Zelda fan. And Nintendo really doesn't have to try all that hard to captivate its audience with a new game.
Yeah, that's right.
Like we got a new Paper Mario game coming out.
That's right, the origami one. Yeah.
And I wish they would. My problem. It's a minor problem. I wish they put out a damn Metroid game, man. When's that coming?
Yeah,
I've been wanting a Metroid game so damn bad, and they haven't done it yet. But I bet they will. And they will.
And you know what? The Metroid Prime series was pretty damn good, man.
Oh, man, those games were so great.
Good. They could have so built on that. But you know what?
Yeah.
I think that kind of falls into that blurry line. Maybe they thought it looked too much like a serious shooter that they're kind of scaling it back. I don't know,
That's
dude.
true.
But
I
that
don't
was
know,
fun.
man.
But that was fun. That was good.
But your comparison is very accurate. Like when I want to, because the thing about the Xbox and the PlayStation line of consoles is, you go on there to party up with your friends. You go on there to do a lot of first person shooters. You go on there to get achievements or trophies. It's all about like the competitive nature. But when you want to just kick back on your recliner and you want to play something fun, you pull out your Switch, man. And that is what Nintendo has pretty much always been known to be about.
Yeah.
Because they don't do achievements, they don't do trophies, they don't have all this stuff. They've never been real user interface heavy. You know what I mean? Their user interfaces have always been pretty light. Not to say they don't have games that you can play with your friends, but they are one of the very few. They are probably the only console maker left that is all about playing with people, like face to face, in almost
your living room.
everything. Because you don't see Microsoft necessarily doing that, because that's not their business model. They want you to purchase those subscriptions. They want you to go online and play games with friends. They want you to do that. Nintendo has a membership
Online, yeah.
You know why I have a year membership? So that I can play all my Super Nintendo and Nintendo games I like. That's pretty much the only reason why.
Yeah.
Because you got those virtual consoles in there, which they might even add Nintendo 64 in there at some point, which I think would be great. I think they should add Nintendo 64 in there. I would love to play Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on my Switch.
Yeah.
That'd be so great. There's so many good Nintendo 64 games they should put on there. But the thing is that they just, it's just Nintendo is all. If you want iconic Nintendo gameplay or iconic childhood memories, you go play a Nintendo console. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and they don't need the flashy graphics. Just look at Splatoon 2, man. Looks so
don't.
cartoony as hell, but it's fun. And you can have a competitive gameplay too.
Yeah.
But that's their bread and butter, man. It's just it's fun.
Yeah.
I think that overall you got to think fun with Nintendo.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, that's going to be all the time that Victor and I have for this episode of the Dragoncast. Man, it goes by so quick, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it goes by so quick. We talk about all this stuff. And, thank you guys so much for listening to us on SoundCloud and on YouTube. And we're now also on Apple Music. We're on there. And we're also on the Google Play Store. And hopefully soon, in the near future, we'll be on Spotify. We're in the talks of
nice.
On Spotify. So you have no reason not to be able to get access to our weekly episodes. We do have them every week on Monday, which you're listening to on Monday. As always, if you have any ideas for somebody out there you'd like for us to have on our show, talk to, you can put them in the comment section below here on YouTube. Let us know. We will gladly reach out and try to get them on our show. As I said, next week we have KJ, who's supposed to be on the show, or I'm looking forward to having her on, talking about what she does. And I'd like to hear all of her stories from people she's met in the music industry too. That'd be kind of cool, because she
actually, dude, you mentioned KJ in our pregame show. I'm not so sure our audience knows what's going on.
Yeah. I mentioned her. Yeah. So KJ, her name is Carrie. And she's a former radio DJ for WZPL in Indianapolis. She was also on another radio station in Indianapolis, my hometown. And she is an amazingly awesome person. She's a humanitarian. She works with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and she has helped grant several wishes since she's been working with them for a long, long time. She's done radio DJing for over 10 years. She's a huge nerd. She has a podcast called The Kinda Nerdy Podcast. You guys should go check that out too. And she has agreed to be on the show, and she should be on here next week. And she's going to talk with us about her time as a radio DJ. We're going to talk about her transitioning from a radio DJ to a podcaster, which I've always thought, how do you do that?
That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
And then we're also going to talk about how you can get into podcasting. And it's not hard, let me tell you. It's really easy. And at least it is now anyway.
Yeah, right. Didn't do it back in the day.
And but you guys, we'll give you guys some tips on how to get into it, how to make those connections, things like that. We're all about pulling people up and helping the people launch their podcasting career. Which, by the way, Victor, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I helped write a book.
You did what?
Sort of help write a book. I mean, my wife, she just gave me a weird look like you didn't help write it. I contributed to it. We'll put it that way. There is a book out there called Pod Life, Podcaster Stories. This is a shameless plug. And yours truly did contribute / help write. I'm going to still say that. I don't care what she thinks. And
it made it in the book. It counts.
But it's in the book, dang it. And I helped write it. Thank you, Victor. Go check it out. It's on Amazon. You can go get it. You can go purchase a physical copy right now. I'll even put a link to that in the description below. And you can go and get it on your Kindle. You can read the chapter that I did write that chapter. I did. Once again,
cool. Nice.
My name is Brian Daniels. This is my podcasting partner in crime, Victor Salazar. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And we'll see you this time next week. Until then, see ya.
All right, guys. Take it easy. Later.